Welcome, everyone. We're still admitting some folks. Y'all know the drill. If you're able to unmute and, have your camera on, we would love to see you. And our guests would love to see you as well. Um,
Thank you, Kenya.
sure, am I still sharing my screen?
You are.
Okay, perfect. Making sure. I lost my view of everyone. Welcome, folks. Making sure everyone's getting in.
Cool. So 10:02, thanks everybody for being here. So we're gonna just go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, perfect. Um, hey folks, as first of all, we want to say not just welcome for being here, but I was, of course, just with you folks, and we got to meet a lot of you in person since you've been at school. But we've been, obviously interacting in this space. But it was really great to see all of you at the homecoming. It was just that I felt at home. I kept saying that to everyone.
No,
But we knew that, right? Like this group, it's really cool that you folks have been interacting with each other for so long. And we feel that kind of home when we're around you guys, even in these virtual spaces. But again, super cool that we were invited and able to interact with all of you in person, of course. We
and
had some.
interacting with each other as well. I really hope that some of you maybe haven't seen each other for a while, or I know there were a few that didn't know everybody in the group, but just know that this is like a safe space, and also your community. So I'm taking opportunity to engage with each other in person and virtually and in the chat. We're hoping that can continue.
And if you were in the fashion show, go ahead and drop. Go ahead. And if you won the fashion show, one of my winners, go ahead and give yourself a shout out in the chat, of course. But again, like Cheryl said, welcome to Navigating Success and being first gen and fearless. Um, Before we get into our first presenter in the first half of our time together, I think it's really important. We think it's really important to set the stage and really have a conversation about, why this space is so important, as Cheryl was just saying, and why these conversations are super important for us to have. So as you guys know, right, as first generation college students, myself as well, Cheryl as well, that means something really powerful. Oftentimes, I know it feels like you don't have all of the tools, right? Or you're doing things without a roadmap, or you're having to have these constant conversations figuring things out, right? And at the same time, we're carrying the pressure of our families, our communities, or both, right? At the same time. So right up front, we want to normalize that. But we also want to say, if it feels lonely, or if it feels hard, or it feels like, again, you don't have that roadmap, um, it's meant to feel that way, right? You, in many regards, are the first. And you're taking on that first generation of confusion, and shaping rooms as you're going into them, and making decisions that are going to impact not just you, right? But as you're, right, everyone talks about that generational wealth. So we want to normalize that if it feels tough, right? It's meant to be. And there's something really powerful about being able to, as you've even gotten to this point, right?
Mhm.
Being able to, rise above that, and be proud of yourself as you keep going up, right?
And keeping in mind that being a first generation student means that you're bringing resilience, you're bringing
Hmm.
perspective and problem solving that a lot of like your peers that like at your schools might not even be thinking about. So recognize that like the skills that you have cannot be taught in any textbook. You all are leaders. Even if no one is currently calling you that, we're calling you leaders. You need to recognize that you are a leader. You
Hmm.
belong in the classrooms, the boardrooms, and spaces where all these decisions are being made. And that's what today is about, is building your confidence. As we said earlier, we want you to recognize that this is your community, and we want you to be able to find your communities on your campuses. But through the session, you're going to be hearing real stories that hopefully will remind you that you are not alone in this. So we're hoping that you are present, that you're asking questions, sharing your experiences, and walking away with skills and clarity that you can actually put to practice immediately after this session. So to kick us off, we're so excited to welcome Jess Evora, talking about community and talking about networking, recognizing that your network can be in the same room with you, meeting through a friend. And that's exactly how Jess and I had met. We were actually both Syracuse alum. Did not meet on campus at Syracuse. We met in LA through another Syracuse alum and immediately connected. We have been friends. We've gone on vacations together, many vacations together, actually, and have always found ways to work together. But Jess has spent her career working directly with students, especially us. So, especially first generation Black and Brown students, helping them name imposter syndrome, understanding where it's from, and how to stop imposter syndrome from leading you to success. Her work has been grounded in real conversations, practical tools. So she's not going to give you like these textbook theories. It's about real application. And today, Jess is going to talk to us more about what imposter syndrome actually looks like, how it shows up. So our goal is that you leave today's session with tools that you can use right away, and really about reframing the voice in your head and actually advocating for yourself. So we're really grateful to have her here with us today. So let's welcome our dear friend, Jess Evora. Welcome, Jess.
Carol, thanks,
Welcome, Jazz.
Ivana. I appreciate you both, and thank you, everyone, for being here. I really, what a generous introduction.
And
I'm
every
really,
word of it, friends.
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Um, Forgive me, all my voice is going in and out. I'm just recovering from a cold. If you let me know if you can't understand me, but I'm so excited to be here. I love working with, especially students from LA because I love LA. It is my favorite city. I'm not from
Hey,
LA.
hey, be careful, be careful.
I'm sorry, I love it. I'm not from Los Angeles. I should say LA County. I love like SoCal. I love SoCal a lot. I'm from Rhode Island, but went to USC for grad school and just fell in love and stayed there for a really long time. I'm right now based in Washington, D.C., just so I could be a little closer to my family in Rhode Island. But I think if I was not, if I had family in California, I probably would still be there. It's not a definite no in my future. So jealous of all of you all who are from SoCal. Um, and really happy to be here. This is definitely near and dear to my heart. I'm going to share my screen, but you'll notice I would love participation. So at some points, I'm going to unshare my screen so we can chat, and then I'll share my screen again. I am going to be talking about imposter feeling. And I would love for it to be very conversational. I'm very like a informal type of person when I'm presenting, and really in my work as well, which has been interesting. So feel free to jump in. This is like our conversation. So jump in at any point to either agree with me, disagree with me, give me examples. I think we can like all learn from each other. So with that, I will share my screen. Uh, Here we go. And let me know if you can. And let me make it larger. You'll see that, okay?
We can see.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So as Cheryl mentioned, we're going to talk about imposter feeling. And many refer to it imposter syndrome, but others do also refer to it as imposter feeling. And that's because it's not necessarily like this like phenomenon. It's a feeling that most people have. Feeling like an imposter, feeling like you're the only, or feeling like you're not supposed to be here, right? So I really want to first define it so we can just normalize it a little bit. And then discuss how we can overcome it. And I would love to hear from all of y'all. So this is kind of like my prep to everyone. Like I want to hear how you like when you've experienced imposter feeling, and some things you're considering doing or you have done in the past to overcome it. So kind of my prep for the conversation. For this presentation, I would love to share a little bit about myself, just so you know who I am, and my background, and then going over what is imposter feeling, and then of course, some like really tangible strategies. I like to just provide like a wide array of strategies because not every strategy is going to work for everybody, but these are all strategies that I appreciate, that I've learned from others, and then I do use, and I do believe have advanced me in my career, which has not gone how I thought it would go. But luckily, I overcame that imposter feeling, and I am where I am now. So again, I'm a leadership development professional. My current role or title is I am the director for Health Impact Alliance at the Health Management Academy. I know that's a lot, but the Health Impact Alliance, we were formerly called the Health Equity Alliance, but recently changed our name due to the political climate. Um, so we're now the Health Impact Alliance, and we help chief health equity officers, chief physician executives, chief community health officers across the country with their health equity work and their community health. So I feel very blessed that we help physicians and hospitals and health systems get people healthier and do it in an equitable way and make sure that no one is left behind. So I love the work that I get to do. I never thought I would be doing this work. So I'll tell you a little bit about like how I got here. But I've been in leadership development specifically for 15 years, and most of my time has been in higher education. So most of my work has been with high school students, college students. You'll see kind of a list of schools that I've worked at in my past. If any of them look familiar, or if you're at any of them, like drop it in the chat. I love that. If you have any family or friends at any of them, drop in the chat. But loved all of the schools. You'll notice two of them are in Los Angeles. I worked at USC and I worked at UCLA for many years before heading back to the East Coast. I also worked at UC Merced in the Central Valley. And I didn't know how hot it was over there, but it was lovely. It was just very hot in Central Valley, like so different from SoCal. Um, and a little bit like on the personal note, just like what I like to do. I grew up in Rhode Island, like I said. My family is from Cabo Verde, so I'm West African. Most of my family is still there, or they're in Portugal. We were colonized by the Portuguese. And so I go there quite often. I understand a lot of Portuguese, but our native language is like Creole, like a Portuguese Creole, so I speak that better. And then I lived in Cali for 8 years, so I love California. And now I'm based in DC, so kind of been all over the map a bit. Not as much on the Midwest. Maybe that'll be my next stop. I don't know. Anybody in the Midwest on this call? I'm curious.
You got a bunch of
No?
Cali kids on the call.
Yeah, right. I'm like, let's drop our schools in the chat, y'all. That
Cali,
way Jess can get
Cali.
to know where we're at.
Yes. Yeah, please do. I always like to see what schools people are at. So I love cycling. That's my favorite cardio to do. Curious about what others like to do for cardio. So I go to cycling classes like 3 times a week. I love concerts, like small concerts more likely. I like to find new artists that are just emerging. And so I like small concert venues. I love live music. Even if it's like going to a restaurant and like watching a live band, love that. And then I love a good road trip. I've driven from California to Rhode Island a couple times now. And it's such a good experience. It's so beautiful to drive across this country. So if folks can't get out of the country, like this country is very beautiful. I encourage you to explore it more. Um, and so a little bit more about like the work that I do. The Health Management Academy, we're like a relatively small consulting firm. We're based in Arlington, Virginia. That is in just outside of DC. It's literally like I live in DC and it's about 15 minutes for me. So most of my colleagues are DC or DMV based. Some live in Baltimore, Ivana. Um, and what we do is we work with health systems and industry members. Health systems include, for example, Cedars-Sinai. I'm going to name like the California ones are that I can think of. Cedars-Sinai, UCLA Health, USC, Keck Medicine of USC. Those are kind of our members, and they come to us to help solve their problems, basically. We provide leadership development, talent and development, data and insights, and then we have alliances. And so we work mostly with executives, like really, the most senior executives at all these institutions. And one service of the Health Management Academy is the Health Impact Alliance, and that is what I direct. I work with 5 colleagues, and we support health equity and community health efforts for our colleagues. So if anyone in health, public health, or any type of health, would love to hear, drop in the chat. We do a lot of work with chief physician executives and whatnot. And we do custom research. I don't do the research. I'm the only one on our team who doesn't do research, which really initially caused my imposter feeling because I did remember telling them I was like, I don't do research, and I don't want to do research, right? You still want to offer this job to me? And luckily they said, we'll find other things for you to do. You won't be doing research. Um, and we also do again leadership development, and then we do a lot of event planning as well. So this was probably the job that gave me the most imposter feeling. The job I currently have gives me the most imposter feeling because everyone around me does research and has a degree in healthcare or public health or something like that. I do not. So I even remember thinking, I was like, I said out loud, I was like, are you sure like this is a good fit? Because I do not have healthcare or research background, and I don't want to do. I made it very clear I don't want to do research. And fortunately, they were okay with that, and they were able to find other things they wanted to expand their services outside of research, so it helped a lot. Um, but it just took me reminding myself, like I bring a lot to the table. It's not what everyone else brings. Um, but I'm not going to fight it. If they clearly have offered me the position, it means I should be there. So, it's a reminder to ourselves, like if you were in a place right now where you feel like you maybe you shouldn't be there, you don't deserve to be there, you're there for a reason. So just reminding yourself that you are there for a reason. And I also think it's really important to like make the list of reasons why you should be there. Because you might need to like reread them to yourself every once in a while. I still do. I've been doing this job for 2 years. And I just said it to my supervisor the other day. I was like, I still feel like a fish out of water sometimes when I'm talking to members and they get like really technical with the healthcare stuff, and I'm still like, I don't know what you are saying. I don't say that to them, of course. You just kind of nod. I write down some things. I ask my supervisor about it later. Um, but I know that like I'm a good connector. I can connect people to resources. I can connect people to the people who know everything in depth. So I've just accepted the fact that like that's not my lane, and that's okay. Like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm not always what people expect because they want to get deep sometimes about healthcare. But I think for me it's a great practice. Like I have to practice almost every day addressing my imposter feeling. It happens all the time. And you would think like I've been in working full time for like 16, 17 years now, and I thought it would go away by now, but sometimes the more you push yourself and the more you take risks and the more
Hmm.
successful you are, it just gets stronger, really, to be honest, the imposter feeling. So it's more just about recognizing what it is and why you have it and that it's okay and it's normal. So that's what we're gonna do today. I did want to, this is just a list again of the healthcare systems we work with. We work with healthcare systems across the country again, and you'll notice some familiar ones in California as well. Um, so imposter feeling, what is it exactly? I want to define it before we like dive into how to address it. It's basically the feeling of not belonging or the feeling that you don't deserve to be there. Wherever there is, it's that someone's gonna catch you, someone's gonna realize this person's not supposed to be here. Someone's gonna realize you're not smart enough, or you don't know enough, or you don't have the same background as them. Um, and it's a feeling that most people have. About 80% of all people experience it. And it's not a one-time thing. It's not when you first start out in your career. It's not when you first go to school. It's not um it's really literally your entire life you're going to experience it. If you're pushing yourself, if your goal is to be really successful, you're going to experience it consistently. Every time there's kind of a change, every time you're join something new, you're likely to. There's a chance. You may not always, but the possibility of it showing up, it doesn't go away. Um, and it's because you're pushing yourself. It's because you're willing to go outside of your comfort zone. It's because you're okay being the only. Um, so I want to highlight that if you're experiencing it, you should be proud of yourself. If you're experiencing imposter feeling, you should be proud of yourself because you're obviously doing something um, that others are not doing, right? If you are the only in any topic, I would love to like just stop there. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and I would love to hear from anyone like when's the last time you've experienced imposter feeling? What situation was that for you? And I'm gonna stop sharing. I'd love to hear from folks. In the chat is fine as well. But of course, we'd love to hear voices. We'd love to hear voices as well. But in the chat is fine.
Yeah. Thinking about all of you on your campuses, maybe interacting with faculty. I know a lot of you are out here applying for internships right now. So any thoughts?
I can start us off. Good morning, Jess. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Kamari Brown. I am a first gen college grad from Spelman College. Spelman College, whoa. And it's crazy because for me, my entire college experience was just full of imposter syndrome. Like all the way up until I like crossed the stage. I'm like, do I even belong here on the stage? But even more crazy, my senior thesis was titled From Star Students to Silent Strugglers. And it really examines how economic disadvantage and I guess you can say, academic achievement kind of intersect to shape the lived experience of first gen students at HBCU specifically. Um, and I was literally like the main project of my project, right? I was a star student, I guess you can say, who graduated valedictorian from Crenshaw High School. But then, coming to Spelman, it was just like, oh my God, these women are like top two and not two. Um, but I like found my way of navigating that space, which is why I did my senior thesis on the topic because I just found it even more intriguing that, even still while writing the senior thesis, I was still having imposter syndrome. So it was a battle to begin with, everybody have this whole notion of thinking, you go to HBC, you're going to be surrounded, by your people. Yes, that is true. However, there's
Yeah.
still other things such as classism, other isms that, play in
Yep.
factor of having this feeling. So again, being first gen while having to navigate all of this was just a lot of pressure. But I managed to walk through. I crossed the stage.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was a battle. It definitely was a battle.
That's very interesting. You make such a good point. Even when you know you're experiencing it and you actually did your dissertation, it was relevant to it, that you still experienced it. So thank you so much for sharing, Kamari. And congratulations on your dissertation as well and graduating.
Thank you.
And Spelman, that's so dope that you went there as well. I want to highlight that. Anyone else want to share? All right, if you think of any, feel free to drop it in the chat. Would love to hear any other examples. I'll start sharing my screen again. All right. So again, I want to highlight the fact that like if you're experiencing it, think about whether you should actually be proud of yourself, right? Where did you put yourself to be experiencing it? Well, how are you stretching yourself to now be in a place where you're like, do I belong here? Um, I want to highlight that it's really important for all of us, and many of you I'm sure know this already. But if you don't, like I really want to highlight it's important to own our own story and like understand that our uniqueness is our power. Like we're bringing something to the table nobody else has. Being unique or being the only is often what causes imposter and feeling. But ironically, it's like exactly the part of yourself you should be most proud of. Like, no, I don't have the same background as everyone else, but I'm still here. No, I didn't go to the fanciest high schools like everyone else, but I'm still here, right? Um, these are examples that I've experienced. That's why I'm sharing those. And so it's really important to think about that. And this is a quote I really love from Maya Angelou. Do your best until you know better, and then when you know better, do better. And I say that because a lot of times when we're experiencing imposter feelings, sometimes it is that like we feel like we don't know as much as we should, or we weren't as prepared as everybody else. That's okay. And we're all on our own journey. And instead of worrying about like not being good or not knowing as much as everyone else, just focus on like learning from everyone. Get to know everybody and learn from them and ask questions. It's okay if we're not as experienced as everyone else. We're on our own journey, right? We're all on our own journey. Um, so what I really want to highlight is this concept of growth mindset. Has anyone heard of like the growth mindset? Okay, so it's essentially just the belief that you can improve. Doesn't matter where you are in your skill set, or your journey, whether it's personal goals or your professional goals. Maybe you feel like you're not as far as you want to be at this moment, or maybe you feel like you're not as skilled or knowledgeable as you want to be, or maybe you're just feeling like you don't have the background others have. Like it's inherently true that you can improve. No matter where you are, everyone can improve. So we have to believe that we can improve. we have to do the work, right? We have to have consistent effort and practice. This is actually a concept from psychologist Dr. Carol Dweck. I always like to credit the content I provide. And so these are 5 things that I think you can do to really make sure you have a growth mindset. Like just be okay with where you are. You might feel like again, you're the only, or maybe you feel like you're not where you want to be. If you're feeling an imposter feeling, just be okay. Be okay with where you are. Acknowledge with effort you can improve, and then make a plan, and then like look forward to it. And then I think it's really important for all of us to give ourselves grace. Like be patient if you need to, because sometimes progress takes longer than we want. It just does. It's not fun. I'm a very impatient person, so I don't like to wait. I just like to see results like right away. I'm like, why didn't I get this job yet? Or why didn't I get promoted yet? Or, whatever it is, I always tell myself, just be patient, Jess. Like it's not happening when you want to, even my last job, I it took me 2 years to get this current job when I knew 2 years ago I wanted to leave my last job. So it was 2 years of saying, just be patient, Jess. It's gonna happen. Just practice, just be ready for the next opportunity. It was a struggle, but I kept trying to keep my growth mindset. Is there a hand raised?
That was your hand.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
your
I
hand, I
raised
think.
my own hand. That's hilarious. How do I lower my hand? Okay, I got it, got it, got it.
I
That's
do
so
that all
funny.
the time. We talk with our hands,
I don't
Jess.
know how
It's
I did
cool. It's
that. I
cool.
just talk on my hand. So true. So always make sure you have like a growth mindset. Because a lot of times imposter feeling is about feeling like you are where you are. You're not supposed to be, deserve it, but know that you can always grow, even if you're not where you want to be. And then I'm gonna talk about this a lot because confidence is like, I think like the best way to address imposter feeling. Like it's the best way to address it. And it helps in so many aspects of life. And I do truly believe that confidence, it's not just like a state of being. I feel like it's actually like a skill you have to practice. Some people are more confident than others. That's just, we all have our kind of like natural confidence level, and some are really high. People like even if they don't have the skills or they don't know anything about the topic or whatnot, they still like come in like
The
ready to go.
audacity. Yeah.
Yeah, some people, right? Um, but then others are like, meaning the others are really low, even if like they have every reason to be confident. I tend to be on the lower end for whatever reason. I just naturally tend to be less confident in whatever it is. And so what I do is I literally practice the skill of confidence that I can keep it high. So it usually stays pretty high, but if I'm not like actively working on my confidence, it can easily go low again. So think about like where your confidence level is. Are you like naturally high on the scale? Are you low on the scale? And think about how you can bring it up. So these are things we're going to talk about bringing it up because I do believe that when we're feeling imposter feeling, it's like we need to work on like boosting up our confidence to be like, yo, I'm supposed to be here. I'm different from everybody else, but I'm just as deserving. I'm just as awesome. I'm just as fly, like so confidence, I think, is the biggest key to addressing imposter feelings. We're gonna talk about that a lot.
Can
Um,
I add in Jess that and share like a little story? I remember meeting Jess and being like, wow, this woman has it together. Like she is so confident. Like that's like what you get when you see her. And we met like earlier, like in our 20s. So like we were still like figuring it out, but I always felt like she always just had it together. And as we became friends, she would tell me like, no, like this is something that I have to practice, like I work at. And that has like always stuck with me. So I always love Jess when you come on to connect with Innovate her students and tell them this piece because I think so often, especially as first gen Black students, we are always like, oh, like, I don't know if I deserve to be here. And just assuming that everybody else has it together, but not recognizing that it's rehearsed and it's practiced a lot of the time. Some of them, especially like a lot of the white men come out here with just like the audacity, like even if they don't have the skill to back it up.
right,
But
they're usually pretty high on the scale.
exactly, right. It's coming at baseline, but we have to practice it because we have the skill, but come in often just like being meek or timid. So think about some of like those key giveaways that you're giving in terms of lack of self-confidence. So it's like, oh, like talking low or putting your head down, like some of those pieces that you can be
Right.
working on to exude your confidence. And it's definitely something that's rehearsed, but I just think it's so important to hear that line about I need to practice this.
1,000% agree with that. And it might it's also important to think about different situations might cause you to be more confident than other situations. So maybe it's focusing on those situations that do kind of like test your confidence. Um throughout your life, right? Or those environments that test your confidence,
Hmm.
and really realizing confidence is a skill that you can actually practice and like activate on cue if you just know the different strategies. If you think of a confident leader in your life, I encourage you to, go up to them and ask them like, how have you built your confidence? What are the things that you've done to build your confidence? If anyone has an example, would love to hear. But if not, I do encourage all of you to, find someone that you look at with to have great confidence and ask them about it. I think you'll learn a lot from them, and I'm sure they'll kind of share with you their vulnerabilities as well and how they practice their confidence. I think it's also a great opportunity to network as well with someone. So I hope you definitely take that as a takeaway from this session.
Can I
Um,
also say one more
yeah.
thing too, in terms of, I think that's great in terms of a confident leader in your life, but sometimes it might be somebody that you like idolize like on TV or that you don't even
Mm,
know, and
Yeah.
looking at like how they respond in crowds. So for me, I watch Michelle Obama. Like, how does she stand? Where does she put her hand?
mm,
How does she speak, right? And just trying to like take note of some of those mental, like I know I am not Michelle Obama, right? But taking some of like those key things that she does in terms of like, I know that that is an uncomfortable room for her right now. So how is she practicing her confidence, and like what are certain things that she's doing that I can sort of try to embody? So somebody that you might be in your life, but also I think it's important to just have a visual sometimes of somebody that you like look up to that you may not know.
I love that. I really love that
Thanks.
strategy. And
Thanks
yes,
for using
Michelle
the
Obama.
chat, y'all, too. I was just gonna say, thanks for using the chat, and I know some of you, you're getting to a space where you can unmute and come join us. But
Yes.
yeah, Cheryl, Jess, this is like confidence is like cardio. It's blowing my mind,
Oh,
right? Like
yes, I love
I
that.
can't avoid it, and I have to work at it. No,
I love that. Confidence is like cardio. That is
let's get Cheryl.
accurate though. It's so accurate. That's so funny.
Kamari
Um,
said Jasmine Crockett. Yes, exactly.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. It's about how you feel, but also like how you carry yourself, right? So those are great examples. The other piece I like to talk about when we think of like how to address imposter feeling is developing your resilience, which is the ability to overcome challenges. And I just want to share briefly the six pillars of resilience. This is a great framework that I love from Dr. Gemma Lee Roberts, and she has this she it's not on her website anymore, which makes me so bad, but luckily I was able to snapshot this. But she has this wonderful six pillars of resilience. And you'll notice confidence is one of those pillars of resilience. And so I like to highlight that confidence is not, it's not just a skill for imposter feeling, but it's also a skill to like get through challenges. And
Mm,
you're all in and throughout our lives, we're gonna go through various challenges. You might be going through some challenges right now. And having confidence that you can overcome can actually help you get through those challenges by being more resilient. You'll notice her other pillars of resilience are adaptability, positivity, perspective, mastery, which is really like looking at those top four and like doubling down on them. And then stamina, which I think like is the cardio is a great analogy. But I just showed this to show that confidence is one of the ways to not only address the positive feeling, but also to become more resilient. And that also supports addressing imposter feeling, right? And so, kind of like what Ivana just said about the cardio piece, like Sean Anker, he writes a lot about the how to practice happiness. It's not just, he also says the same thing, says happiness is not like just the mood, it's a work ethic. And I truly believe the same can be said about imposter feeling, about dressing confidence, and about overcoming imposter feeling. It is a work ethic. We can do things to actually address our how we feel about these things. And so I do want to now dive deeper into some strategies that you can use and take what you like, drop what you don't like, but here are a few things that you can do to address, increase your confidence baseline and address the imposter feeling. First, like determine what is the root cause of your imposter feeling. Make sure
mm,
you develop that growth mindset. Walk your runway, and then there's some long-term habits and short-term. Some habits you got to put in the work, and then some are just daily things you could do. So I'm going to dive deep into those. If there's any that really resonate you, let me know. If there's any that are not included that you want to add, let me know. But I did want to ask all of you, if you think about the last time you experienced imposter feeling, like what was the actual root cause? Like, was it a new environment? Were you the only? Were you comparing yourselves to someone who was a little further ahead than you or had more accomplishments? Was it actual discouragement from others? Was it just like uncertainty? Was it you still being kind of stung by previous failures? Or was it just literally the fear of future failure? Or you just simply outside your comfort zone? You want to drop in the chat and think about the last time you felt imposter feeling and like, what was the actual root cause? And you'll notice none of these examples are that you actually don't deserve to be there, that you're not smart enough to be there, that you're not deserving to be there. These are actually the most common reasons people experience imposter feeling. And they have absolutely nothing to do with your capabilities, right? If you look at all these examples, it has nothing to do with it. It usually has to do with your environment.
Mm.
It has nothing to do with you in most situations. So think about that, right? So when you experience imposter feeling, ask yourself why. And then ask yourself, is it really reasonable that I'm experiencing imposter feeling because of that, right? If you're the only, you should be proud that you're the only. Like, pat yourself on the back, right? Are you comparing yourself? Remember, comparison is, it's not the best thing to do. We all know this. So just like you can check yourself and be like, stop comparing. I'm just as great as them. Is it a new environment? Be like, okay, that makes sense that I would feel this. Most people feel imposter feeling in a new environment. So I think it's really important to determine the root cause, and that helps you kind of overcome it. Because you're like, well, just get yourself together. Like you're tripping, you know? Like so. Um, Always think about what's causing it. The other thing to think about is remembering to forgive yourself for past mistakes. You might still be holding on to something. So forgive yourself for either, not if there's any failures from your past that you feel like are holding you back. That's really important. That I think a long-term strategy. It might take a really long time to do that. We're only human. But think about whether that's something you need to do in order to overcome your imposter feeling. And then this is one of my favorites, walking your runway. The way you move your body, neurologists say that the way you move your body actually tells your brain that whether you're confident or not. So you can actually trick your brain into thinking that you're confident. I mean, you do that by how you walk. You do that by how you carry yourself. Like, Cheryl talked about Michelle Obama. If you hold your head high, your brain gets a signal that we're confident. If you walk with confidence, your brain will get the signals that you're confident. And this is Scholars Lane. It's at UC Merced, in Central Valley, California, where I used to work. And at this job, I experienced a lot of imposter feeling, especially my first like 3 weeks there. Usually, like the first few months of any job I ever have, I feel like imposter feeling. I'm realizing, but I would literally like my car. I had to park really, really far. I used to hate it because I'm like, it's gonna take me like 20 minutes to get from my car to the office. Um, I just raised my hand again by accident. Let me lower it. And what I would do, I would feel so like nervous, even just to go to the office, I'd feel so nervous, like I think unreasonably nervous. So I'd have to like, let me fix this, Jess. So what I would do is I'd literally like walk down Scholars Lane. I had to walk down Scholar Lane to get to my office, and I would literally like walk down it as if I'm on a runway, as if like I own the campus, like I'm the chancellor of the campus. And by the time I got to the office, I was like, yo, like I don't know, my brain really did trick myself into thinking I'm confident and like I'm supposed to be here and I should be running the whole campus. And it's because it's scientifically you can trick your brain to think you're confident, and then eventually, and then you do become confident, and you're also become perceived as confident. So I met someone who had never actually met me, but they said, "Oh my gosh, like, but I saw you walking down Scholars Lane once, and you just seem so like confident and like put together." And like they had no clue that I was a hot mess inside. But luckily, it worked. And like with them telling me, "Oh, you seem so confident," like that made me more confident. So sometimes it's like, creating the confidence in an unnatural way to then make yourself naturally confident. Has anyone ever tried this? Just like it's might be the outfits you put on that make you comfortable. Like usually, I'm not wearing them today, but I usually wear like really big gold hoops. That's like my favorite thing to wear during a presentation. It makes me so confident. I call them my power hoops. And they usually like they're huge like this. And that was one of my ways that I would become more confident. I would just wear my power hoops and be like, you can't tell me nothing. Like you just can't. So I'd love to hear if anyone has other ways that they like kind of like whether it's an outfit or like a mantra or maybe it's like a hype song, if it's appropriate, I should say, I guess. It's so funny. The CEO of one of my other companies, like, she would never share her hype songs because she's like, they're so inappropriate. I cannot share my headstock, but I love it.
I love
So yeah,
these strategies, Jess. These are great strategies. And again, it's so powerful for me every time that it's not a syndrome, it's a feeling. And much
yes, yes,
like
yes, yes, yes.
all feelings pass and you deal with feelings and we got to talk about like, yeah, these are all things that as I've heard you over the years, right? Like you just start to apply and it really does make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. And
right.
you
Faking
gotta
it till you make it.
yes, yes. Or like they say, I heard another version of it, like fake it till you become it, right? Um,
Ooh.
because you will, right? And I even before I really actually became a leadership development professional, I just called myself one anyway. I never had a job that was specifically leadership development, but I was doing it in different ways, some other jobs, and that's what I wanted to do. So I was like, let me just start calling myself a leadership development professional, and eventually I got a job that was a leadership development job, and then I became a leadership development professional. But I decided to just like claim it before I actually was one. Um, so sometimes, yeah, you got to fake it till you become it, or fake it till you make it. Um, it's just, I also want to highlight, I had a colleague who is a speaker now, like does a lot of speaking engagements. And what they did was they asked all their friends to come into an auditorium, and they also asked a photographer to come. And they made it look like this person, like she had like a speaking engagement, like a really nice speaking engagement. She didn't. It was mostly empty, the stadium. They only showed like the first two rows. And she wasn't even speaking. She was just like posing. And she used that to help with her marketing, and it worked. And eventually she did begin speaking in front of large audiences. So
Wow.
it's really about like setting the stage and creating the belief, even if it hasn't happened yet. So again,
Perception
putting in the
I was going to say perception is such a powerful thing.
oh, it is, it so
And
is.
oftentimes, how people see you or how you believe you're perceived is what you become. So, again, like you modeling down Scholar's Lane or somebody telling you, like, oh, you're really great at public speaking. No, I'm not. I don't think so. But because you are telling me that I am, I now
Yep,
suddenly believe it. And it's like, oh, like I actually should be confident in this, right?
1000%, thousand.
Hey,
Kamari, did you want
Kamari.
to add something?
Yes, I quickly wanted to add because I do that as well. Like I
Yeah.
will throw a fit on, and if it's cute, then I'm feeling
Yes.
good for today. But another thing that I do, um, I'm still trying to pick up on it, but I find like different hobbies that are like not typically for someone that looks like me, I guess you can say. And then I try to like just force myself in those spaces, or not even just force myself in those spaces. I walk in those spaces. Like, for instance, like I'm trying to learn chess now. And those spaces are predominantly we know who. But even just being able to go in those spaces and network or golfing and I don't know, like going to like like self-care journeys, but also using those in like networking ways. So yeah, I do that as well to try to like build my confidence in a sense because it's like
I
I can be here
love
too.
that. I haven't heard that one before. That is such a great strategy. I'm like thinking about like where I could, how I could do that here in DC. Um, that's such a great strategy. Thank you for sharing that. Good for you. I love it. So as we start to wrap up, I just wanted to provide a few more like quick strategies. These strategies I call you got to put in the work because they take a little longer. But forgiving yourself for my mistakes, owning your story, your uniqueness, addressing that positive syndrome. I think it's important to like listen to actual feedback and not the internal critic in your head. We tend to be our like biggest critics. So ask people for feedback. And when they give you good feedback, just say thank you. Don't say no, no, I'm not that good. No, no, no. Don't ever talk bad of yourself. Just say thank you. Like if someone gives you a compliment, thank you. Accept it warmly. Focus on your strengths and utilize them more. And then, I think it's important to like admire others, but don't aspire to be anybody but yourself. So just be the better version of yourself. That's never really helpful to like want to be somebody else, or want to be just like somebody else, because none of us can. We can only be ourselves. So it's great to admire others, but I think it's important to aspire just to be like yourselves. And then, so you notice I did talk about like focusing on strengths. I don't know if folks have ever done any like assessments, like a strengths quest or a disc or anything like that. But if you ever get the opportunity to do any type of like leadership development assessment, especially if like whatever program you're in pays for it, or if your job pays for it, always take that opportunity. I wanted to share one assessment that highlights your strengths. That actually is free, so I love it. I'm gonna drop it in the chat, but I'm also gonna share my screen. And I'll just go over it super quick because I know we're on running out of time. But I wanted to share one of my favorite strengths like assessments. It's called the VIA Character Institute strengths, and I love it specifically because it highlights the strengths that are like they're not the skills that you're good at, but they're literally like what is inherently great about who you are as a person. Like you're literally your character strengths. And you can take the assessment here. You do have to give them your email address, but you can click no for like any extra emails. And what they do is they'll give you a report of your top character strengths, and this is actually all of the character strengths listed here. And things like forgiveness or gratitude or bravery. And I really love it because it helps you kind of give language to what your strengths are as a person. Because I think knowing your strengths is another great strategy addressing imposter feeling. Because you can say, hey, I know I lead with gratitude, which that's one of mine. I really love that. Or I know like I'm really big on harmony. And if you don't want to do the assessment, you can just kind of review the different character strengths and maybe decide on your own what you think you are. But I just want to share this great resource because I absolutely love it, and it helps me really be able to talk about my strengths via the report. But again, if you don't want to take the assessment, you can just kind of look um, at the different strengths and identify what yours are. So I do really think it's really important to be able to identify your strengths and address those to help with your imposter feeling. So definitely encourage you to do that. And again, if you ever get the opportunity to do any type of assessment, I really encourage you to do so. Has anyone ever done any like type of like leadership development assessment, like Strengths Finders, DISC, anything like that? Oh, you
Yeah.
have it.
And
Yes.
I'm real quick, y'all. Like that's some real advice there, right? Like I am all for building my confidence through leaning into my given talents already, right? Like you don't
Yep,
have to
yep.
go too far. Of course, I challenge myself, like things I want to become. But work doesn't ever have to feel like work if you always, are doing something that you already have a God-given talent. So please
Mhm.
get to know yourselves in that way,
Yeah.
right? So that again, you're not just watching people and you're like, oh my God, they're so confident. Oh my God, they're so this. Let me define for myself exactly what I am, right?
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of times it helps when people help define that with you, right?
Mhm. Mhm. And you don't always need an assessment to do that. But I do encourage you, if you haven't done that already, like, think about your top
It's
like
cool.
five strengths,
Yeah.
and be able to like have those in your pocket, to remind yourself, but also to talk about your strengths to others as well. And then, so those were kind of like the long-term things you can do, but I think then there's like some daily things that you can do that I'll share super quickly. I think it's really important to stop apologizing. I love raising my hand apparently. This is so funny. Stop apologizing for things you shouldn't apologize for, right? Like if you I used to apologize a lot if I had a different opinion from someone. You don't have to apologize, but I can just say, hey, like this is my perspective. And it is a fact that women tend to apologize more than men for whatever reason. So
I have been cutting
um
that off.
yes, don't apologize once you actually did something to somebody. That's really important. Refrain from using disclaimers like saying you don't have to say like I know I'm new here, but I know I'm the only one who doesn't have this background, but um none of that. We don't need that. Just say what you're gonna say. I think it's really important to exercise and meditate, whatever like works for you. They do say that exercise like scientifically does boost confidence. It's also just a healthy thing to do. Reducing social media is a big one. That's where most of us do our comparisons. Avoid negative people. I used to have a supervisor that just like hated her life, hated the job, and she like eventually convinced me that I hated my job, but I did not hate my job. So I was able to like move away from her and just love her from afar. So if there's anyone you have to love from afar, like just do it. And then listen to positive, upbeat music. Those are some easy ones to do. Like whatever like gets you like, in the mood to be that powerhouse that you are, whatever your hut music is, make sure you listen to that. That's also scientifically proven to boost confidence, and I'm sure you don't need science to prove that. I'm sure we all know that. You listen to that one song and you're like, yo, let's go, right?
Exactly.
So any other habits, like daily habits that anyone does to boost their confidence that I did not mention that you want to add to the list? Oh, I
Yes,
like that. No.
yeah. I have one. I think you what it is,
I'm loving the energy over here. I love
Yeah, I
it.
have one.
bro.
I usually just write in
Yeah.
my journal and I
Oh, I like
write,
that.
I take notes and use those.
That's a really good one. Writing your journal is such a great activity for so many reasons. So thanks for sharing that one.
Yeah, go ahead,
Rose?
Rose.
So for me, I think affirmations are a big thing, even if at the moment you don't feel like, oh, you're at where you want to be, just affirming yourself and where you are currently, like, I am supposed to be here. Like, I bring this, and this quality to the table. Just affirming myself in that way really does help with imposter feeling.
I 1,000% agree. I'm surprised that wasn't on my list. So thank you. I'm gonna add that one for sure. I'm gonna add both of those. Xavier, did you want to add something?
Yes, I'm not sure if you like said this right now, but how you said
Mhm.
earlier, saying fake it till you make it. So usually I'm
Yeah.
like always smiling at people when I'm feeling
Yep,
like
yep, yep.
left out. I usually just smile just to like fake it.
Well, I love that you do that. That also is scientifically proven. Just simply smiling actually like changes your mood. It tricks your brain into thinking that you're happy. So that is a great strategy right there.
Right? Faking it till you become it. And then also that point that Jess had made earlier in regards to training yourself into happiness. I think that sometimes
Mhm.
we see somebody who tends to be like a happy person or have a positive attitude and thinking that they just always feel like that. And part of it is,
Mhm.
like you might not feel like that 100% of the time, but the world does not need to know that like I'm in a bad mood or somebody said something that's bothering me, right?
Yeah.
Just finding
Yeah.
ways to not fake it, but train yourself into being in that mood that you want to be in, right?
Mm-hmm. Mari, did you want to add something?
Yes, I have like this section in my notes called Good Things Are Happening to Me. And it's like small. But for me, I need that because I'm like an overthinker and sometimes I don't, well, oftentimes I don't like reflect back on when something small as it just being food in the refrigerator. It's like, okay, this is enough. Like good things are actually happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
Or say I don't know. It can be like something little or something big, but for me, it works because I don't, like said, I don't reflect on the small wins,
Yeah.
or even just what we define as a win. Like everybody
Yeah.
just think that, oh, it has to be this glamorous post on Instagram or yada yada yada, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't. So for me, I was that person, so I had to like just come up with this like method of, okay, good things are happening to me. Like, yes, good things are happening to me.
I love that. I think I'm gonna add that section to my
Feeling
journal.
that.
Happened to me.
Give me that.
Yes, definitely stealing it. Thank you, Kamari. All right, I think we're at time. So I did want to end with first thank you all for sharing all of your great strategies. I learned a lot today, so thank you all for sharing. And also want to share that I'm going to drop my LinkedIn in the chat. Feel free to connect with me. Um, I I would love to connect with all of you, stay in touch, support you in any way. So please do stay connected. That's the best way to connect with me. It would be LinkedIn. And just want to say, like, sending you all the good energy for all that work that you're doing. You should already be proud of yourselves, for where you are now and excited to see like where you go in the future. And just grateful to be a part of this space, even just for an hour. So thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Ivana. And thank
Of
everyone
course.
on the call for a great conversation.
Thank you so much, Jess. And, again, you're always able to get students and even us, right, to just really tap into, again, that feeling and how do I, begin to practice that confidence. So we appreciate you for joining us in this first half. Real quick, y'all, if you can unmute your video or your screen, we'd love to take a picture with Jess just to commemorate the moment. Because I think we did a lot of great work here. Um, all right. Three, two, remember the confidence piece. Hold on. Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I have
Maybe
to do this to feel
save because
confident.
you're
I
your
see y'all. All right. Three, two, perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Jess. We
Thank you,
appreciate you.
Jess.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I know that you got a lot from that conversation and appreciate you all being active in the chat and for continuing the conversation. So before we transition into part two of our session with our panelists, we are going to give you a quick 5-minute break. If you need to use the restroom, grab some water, whatever you need to do. And we will be back on in 5 minutes. So feel free to take a moment to turn your camera off if you need to, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
Literally at 2:01. Back, folks. If you can once again join us by unmuting that video. It is so nice to talk and see y'all at the same time. But we also know that some of us are transitioning between study groups and finishing up, right, the semester strong, or work and things like that. So we appreciate you guys being here with us as we transition into the second part of our conversation today. And again, being us and also listening to the kind of feedback that you guys wanted to get out of participating, in futures. We want to make sure that when we talk about a topic, we not just talk about it, but we give you tools and then people, right, to like actually talk to about this, and be able to again gain from their stories, but also see that piece that Jess was talking about, right, where you really start to, as you talk to folks, you realize, oh my God, we're all going through this and we're all feeling like this, right? And sometimes that's enough to normalize and to make that feeling, as she said, subside for a bit, right?
Yeah, and so excited because you guys are definitely in for a treat because you're about to hear from two powerhouses that I think really exude confidence in a lot of like these skills that we've been talking about with you over these last few weeks and through this program. But both women who have navigated similar doubts and questions and that imposter feeling that we've been talking about, from entrepreneurship to corporate spaces. And knowing that they didn't follow a perfect linear path. I think in our impact pod earlier last week, we talked a little bit about, your career path isn't always going to be exactly what you thought it was going to be. You're not always going to land like that first dream job as soon as you get out of college, but recognizing that there's a path and there's a story. So we'll hear pieces of their stories. We'll get to talk honestly about what helped push them through self-doubt, which we all have, creating spaces for questions. And we're hoping that you're able to use this time to reflect and engage, and keeping in mind that there are no bad questions here. So you'll have the opportunity to unmute yourselves and ask questions, put questions in the chat as you've all been doing. So thank you for doing that. But again, reiterating that, realizing today that the proof is that first generation students do not just belong in these rooms, recognizing that you all can lead them as well. So welcoming our two guests today, Kathy Bradham, who's an entrepreneur and founder of Soulfully Inspired, and Monica Paul, the senior marketing manager at Sephora, who are both leaders in the marketing space and bring rich experiences navigating the corporate setting, and two of my good friends. So really appreciate them participating in today's session. So welcome, Kathy and Monica. So to kick us off, ladies, and whoever wants to go first, if you can start off by sharing a little bit about who you are, your path, and what helped shape who you are today.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I can go ahead and get started. And thank you for that beautiful opening, Cheryl. We're just happy to be here. Tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Kathy Bradham. I am the founder and CEO of Soulfully Inspired Culture and Luxury Studio. It is a company that I started earlier this year, and it's a culmination of a lot of experiences, both personally and professionally, that allow me to kind of hone in on my skills to really work on strategy and deliver commercial results for brands in these spaces. I started my career, though, actually in sports and entertainment. And when you think about sports and entertainment, it kind of has a lot of tent poles and tentacles that float into a lot of different lifestyle and brands. So I navigated a series of different roles, from agency to media to suppliers or brand names. And my most recent commercial stint or corporate stint would have been with Moet Hennessy, where I spent 8 years there navigating kind of the corporate ladder and taking on roles. And I would say the biggest thing that I learned in my entire in my entire career history has been learning how to navigate transition and ambiguity and trying to do it with grace and knowing that there's a lot of lessons to carry with you forward. And that has been the forefront of how I started Soulfully Inspired. And one other note, when you look at Soulfully Inspired, you'll notice that it's spelled soulfully like Seoul, Korea, which is where I call home. It's where I spent 14 years of my life before I moved to the States to go to college. And I'm half Black and half Korean. And I use that as part of navigating my life and my career, understanding perspectives and bringing culture into the room.
Amazing. Every time you run through this, Kathy, I'm just like so inspired. And I'm like, hi, friends. Thank you for that, Kathy. And also want to give an opportunity for Monica Paul to introduce herself as well.
Yes, hi. So happy to be here. Appreciate the invite. So yeah, I'm Monica Paul. I am a Bay Area native, probably like one of the last few left here hanging on. But yes, Bay Area native. My career overall kind of got started as I was actually in college. So things kind of kicked off. I actually worked in a call center for Comcast Cable at the time and was tapped to go work on a marketing project. So a temporary 6 week project turned into a 10 plus year long career. And I like to say that my career, in a sense, was built off of taking advantage of opportunities, even when they didn't appear immediately to be the opportunity. So building a really strong network, taking advantage of projects as well as other opportunities internally really allowed me to kind of hop around, expand. And while it hasn't been linear, I have worked across consumer packaged goods company, also known as CPG, working with Del Monte specifically in doing marketing activation and planning and programming, and then transitioning into supporting really well-known brands such as the North Face, Williams Sonoma, and currently Sephora with driving retention, engagement, and really building that one-to-one connection with customers all across the world. So happy to be here and kind of go down the journey of sharing deeper into our respective experiences.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Monica.
Hey folks, feel free to use the chat. We're in here also, checking questions for Kathy and for Monica. Thank you both for that introduction and again, I think so impressive both of your careers and what you've been able to, do for yourselves and also for these really powerhouse companies you've been working for. So just I'd had a question just to start kicking us off. We just had a conversation about entering spaces that, that identifying that imposter feeling really comes from entering into spaces where you're being challenged, right? Can you both just kind of think of a moment where you were taking that big leap, right? A lot of our students are either making a big leap into college or making a big leap into their first, careers outside of college. So, just thinking through that whole concept of the big leap and how you felt through it and what you can share with our students about once you get on the other side of it, right?
Yeah, I can share. So yeah, I think kind of going back to when I kind of got my first big break transitioning from a call center to being on a real regional marketing team. And again, I was tapped to work on a project. So I didn't go into it thinking that, hey, this is an opportunity or transformative, potential experience career-wise. I went into it as, wow, I can really learn something new, different. Let's see where this goes. Um, and in doing so, I really took advantage of just asking a lot of questions. So for me, really being rooted in kind of that fearlessness of just not being afraid to ask was really step one. So not going into it quiet and just kind of taking on the task, but going into it and really leading with curiosity, and really taking advantage of, what I was exposed to as far as all the different teams that were available and access to folks in general. So the fearlessness is something that is organically part of me. So I would just say tip is lean into what that organic trait is that you have, whether that is being resourceful, whether that is being fearless, whether that is just, continuously being curious in general. So lean into that one thing that powers you and makes you you, and promise that will be an asset as you kind of take on new paths and new journeys.
Yeah, I think that's
Thank you.
beautifully said. And I'll just add on to that piece as well. Both Cheryl and Monica know me pretty well, and they know that I love ambiguity and gray space. And I like to think like, oh, wait, there's no chapter written yet. So why not let me grab the pen and figure it out, right? So for me, the first time I did that was really my senior year of college. I was in school in Texas at Texas A&M University, and everyone was looking for an internship. And I was graduating with a degree in sports management, and you can go a variety of different ways with that, but nobody was really giving you a playbook of what to do. And the one playbook that was there was, well, you could go be a coach, which is great, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see more. So I started to kind of expand beyond just my campus. And then that led me to look beyond the state. Then it let me look beyond just like the country and just start to look around to see where could I find an opportunity that doesn't seem like it's going to be limiting for me. And it lucked out for me where I was able to use that opportunity to take an internship in Atlanta, Georgia at a sports radio station. And I remember having the conversation with my advisor, and they were like, if you take this for a semester, you're gonna graduate probably in the summer versus or in the fall versus in the summer. And I was like, that's okay, because I'm gonna be graduating with the experience that I wasn't going to get staying here. So I'm okay with taking that risk. And in the grand scheme of life, for me, that couple month window wasn't going to impact where I could go with my career. In fact, it was going to propel me. So it was going back to what Monica says, calculated risks, but also taking into consideration, like sometimes that road doesn't exist yet. A lot of times, especially with us in this room, that road may not exist. And it's up to you to kind of start to navigate it. And you might be the one who gets to write that playbook and share it with someone else.
Mhm. Thank you for saying that, Kathy. I think that's such a great perspective. As we talk to like students in this room and students all over the country, so often I think when students are like finishing up like their high school career, finishing up college, like they want to get to the next immediately based on like that timeline that they have in their mind, and recognizing that, especially when you're in college or in high school and earlier in your career, like there are a lot of opportunities that you don't know where they could go. So being able to like have those conversations and take that internship, even though you might not know where it will go, but just collecting experiences, and opportunities. Kenya, I see that you put a question in the chat in regards, I don't know if you want to unmute yourself. I think Kathy just spoke to that a little bit, but don't know if you had a follow-up or if that got to the meat of what you were asking.
Just like what specifically did you like do in the entertainment like industry part, like pathway stuff like that? Because I do want to like go into it. It's like I'm a dancer, so like I kind of want to go into like with that and like do like other stuff and like media and like podcasts and etc. like that. So yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great industry to be thinking through because it's such a huge platform and there's so many different ways to build a career in it. So for me, it started off as I was an athlete growing up and through college. And so a lot of times sports and entertainment, they intertwine. And for me, most of my exposure came behind the scenes. So when I looked at sports and entertainment as kind of like the pillars, I looked at all the different experiences that brought fans together. And those are kind of the gateways that opened up to opportunities, whether it was in marketing or sales or in partnerships. For me specifically, I ended up going with the media, going through the radio station route, because the radio station that I found was they were operating like a sports marketing agency. And I thought, okay, that's unique, that's different. And so they were working directly with their clients, not only to build out the commercial spots, but to also put together the full media package and then also dovetailing that into experiential elements with the fans. I started to kind of look at the formula of what really works for brand success. And it was really the formula that we saw was consumer, passion point, and connection moment. And then that to me became the unlock of, okay, marketing is really what I like. It's where I really like to bridge people. And from that, it became the transferable skills that I gained in each of those experiences and the networks that I built in those settings that helped me carve out. Like the next couple roles that I looked at became different because um someone early on told me, don't think about that next role, think about the next two roles. And what that allowed me to do was to not only envision what I would want to see long term, even though it was short term in that capacity, what I would want to be long term. And then from there, it made it more clear what the opportunities were going to be in between that. So my next job would be the skill set I'm looking for to get me to that long term job, right? And going back to like the entertainment field, that is very much a relationship based model where people know people. It's a small industry. They want to work with people who come with credibility and work with people who know each other and know your work ethic. And so that's where it became really important to navigate industry events and networking with the mindset of building a career and not with the mindset of just getting a big break or making it big on like a TV show or something like that, right? It was understanding how to navigate, and that really plays into your emotional intelligence. It's understanding like everybody here who's exposed to it wants to be something, but what role can you play to really solidify your relationship and your reputation as you start to navigate and understand what it is you're looking for in that industry? So, Kenya, does that help answer?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Mhm.
As we talk to students in terms of the previous part one of this session was in regards to confidence and imposter feeling. I think a lot of our students on this call today talk about sometimes like lacking confidence when they go into a classroom or feeling like they don't belong, being a first generation college student, student of color, whatever they're feeling at the moment. But thinking as a lot of our students are starting that piece of transitioning into internships and into early career. Can you all think about any time earlier in your career where you might have felt like the only one in the room or lacking confidence? And then how did you navigate those spaces and steady yourself in those spaces to persevere?
Yeah, absolutely. Monica, do you want me to jump in first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll start with one. I remember very early on always feeling like I didn't match what was in the room. Oftentimes because, I was going to school in the South. I grew up overseas. I never looked like anyone that I was around anyway. So I think I got that lesson early on. And then moving to the States and starting to build into like adulthood. Oftentimes my race was always questioned around like, well, what are you and what do you do? And it was early on trying to understand like we didn't have a lot of people talking about microaggressions at those times, right? They weren't talking about diversity and inclusion. And we just knew that the settings and the way to talk about things that were a little bit uncomfortable, you kind of just had to push your way through it and hope for the best of like where those conversations could land. And so for me, I remember seeking a mentor pretty early on of someone who just looked different in a space, not someone who looked like me, but someone who could relate to being different in a space and trying to understand their perspective. And I remember them kind of sharing with me one quote that I carry with me to this day, which is don't aim to blend in the room. You need to aim to adapt to, or don't aim to adapt to the energy in the room, aim to influence the energy. And so when she kind of gave me that experience, I thought about it and I was like, you know what, that's right. Like I understand people. I know how to interact and communicate with people. I need to at least lead with people to people connection first and find a common ground. And then from there, build my confidence because I know I'm confident in the skill set. I know I'm confident in the job I can do. The only confidence is really what you is an uncontrollable for me, which is your perception of me.
Mhm.
I like that, Kathy. Be the energy.
Yeah.
Yes, love that as well. I think as far as my example goes of kind of like my big break opportunity of working on this marketing project, which at the time was essentially working with a copywriter and working with an agency to essentially work on direct mail legal notification. So essentially, it's the annual your bill's going up, which doesn't sound so so exciting, but working on that, what was intended to be a six-week project really taught me the foundational skills of marketing as far as how to engage with vendors, cross-functional partners as well. So going from our copywriter to working with the printer to working with legal on the language. So a lot of those things that I had at first no clue what was going on, right? Because I literally just walked in off the street essentially to work on a project. So for me, a lot of what helped me through that experience is again just always asking questions and not going into it with that feeling of like, oh gosh, this is a dumb question. I'm not going to ask. I'm just going to stay quiet. It's um, really kind of having that feeling of, well, they know I'm coming in off the street, so I use that to my advantage. They know
Mhm.
I'm brand spanking new. So that definitely helped me kind of just navigate process and again like collecting those foundational marketing skills. And then also I made sure that I took really good notes. So if there was something I wasn't sure of, I constantly was just writing down everything. And this is, of course, before the times of Chat GPT and all these additional resources that we have. My friend at the time was Google, so I Googled everything, and that's how I started to become faster, smarter, stronger, in a sense, week over week. And that 6 week project turned into a 4 year marketing coordinator role.
Mhm.
So I came into it literally, right, without the prereqs of like, you have 2 to 4 years of experience, you've done this, you've had an internship. I had none of that. What I relied on was, again, being resourceful, asking those questions, and just making sure my face is in every room. So, one of the affirmations that I like to um, tell myself, and actually I keep this with me today because every time I'm, engaging with the group at work, I'm always showing up in a space where I don't see people that look like me, right? I'm always kind of stepping into that. So my affirmation is essentially I belong in any room that I walk into. And that just kind of helps me. One, I'm entering the room with confidence right off the bat. But also, I'm also human, and I also am great at making those human connections as well and being relatable. So that's also kind of what has fueled me to not be afraid when I am stepping into these new rooms, because at the end of the day, we're all human, right? We've all started somewhere. So again, being relatable has definitely helped me as well.
And thank you, Monica, for saying those two pieces. One, coming in as an intern or early career, I think it's like recognize that like, you're not going to have that much experience, right? So
Yeah.
using it to your advantage, but we're only going to play green, but for so long, right? So getting in the room, but like, what can we do to now better yourself throughout? So I think getting in the space, but also what can we do to be educating ourselves throughout? So I think that's a common theme that we've heard from a lot of our mentors who've been coming on these calls is like, I might not have fully been the expert when I came in, but I made sure that I learned the talk. If there was a term that they use that I didn't understand, I got on Google, I asked questions so that next time it came up, I understood that. So I want to make sure that our students are
Mhm.
grasping that piece of it, that you're at a great advantage because you're younger, you're coming in, and everybody wants to be able to work with you, teach you. But then now the onus is on you to take what you're learning and apply it and push yourself. So I think that's just a key thing that I wanted to be able to point out.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, Cheryl, I think you know, there's that initial fear of even asking a question or like hearing your voice. So, a lot of what I tell my team and folks that I'm mentoring and coaching, you don't have to have like show up with the smartest question.
Mhm.
Sometimes asking a clarifying question is all that you need to do to
Mhm.
start getting in the habit of hearing your voice, right? Being more comfortable speaking up, even if you're just asking for clarity, or you're asking for confirmation on something or a gut check or like, let me make sure I'm tracking, so it doesn't have to be this like super insightful thing. Or if you know that, in advance you're attending a meeting or, attending an event, you can always, again, Be resourceful. Chat GPT, Google is your friend, right? So you can kind of familiarize yourself up front and try to anticipate based off of the agenda what's going to be talked about and try practicing having a couple of questions on hand. That also kind of eases the nerves a bit too, if you're already coming prepared with a couple of questions as well.
That's really great to hear. And again, I mean, so many connections to our earlier conversation. Just, calling out these feelings of not feeling good enough. But it's always good to hear that you just got to power through, right? Like you have to power through and know that you belong in these spaces. One question also or one area that we're also working with, everyone's working on, right, is networking and being very intentional. And you've both kind of alluded to, again, seeking folks. And I guess I just wanted for you both to kind of talk about a little bit more of how do you put into practice actually relationship building, right, in this networking. Because I think as you've both progressed through your careers, you've hinted at, right, like there's this person or there's even myself looking for these answers, right? But if there's a networking move that comes to mind, or a moment, right, or something that you can tell our students when it comes to actually putting that into practice to help catapult you, whichever one of you would like to start.
I can hop in there. So, yes, networking plays a pivotal role. And I think like every stage of your career, you'll do it in a different way. But one thing that I'll always say is that you don't want to view it in a transactional way.
Hmm.
You want to be very genuine about how you're connecting with the person. And sometimes you may not know until you're engaging with that person that that's someone you do want to bring into your circle of mentor, mentee, and all of those connections, right? So one thing that I use, the tool that I use, and this is pre-COVID. So when you're in the office, it was a lot different in the settings, but we would do coffee culture. So if we were talking to someone or we knew that we wanted to meet with someone, sometimes just breaking the scenario that day and being able to say, hey, can I grab 15 minutes with you just to grab coffee and chat with you? It already starts to kind of take down and remove those layers of it being feeling too formalized. And it's a little bit more casual. And I would use that with like a skip level, or also if I was having conflict or I just wasn't, something wasn't landing with someone I was working with, it was also a tactic to, get to neutral ground and to understand each other in a different perspective. So I would say coffee culture was really important in connecting with that. And it's also a low lift, right? People are going to be like, okay, I'll grab tea with you. I'll grab coffee. Like that's not a big deal, right? And then that gives you, again, that opportunity to take it to another level. I think also you probably have heard those terms where people are like, you've got to find an advocate, you've got to find a sponsor, you've got to find a mentor. And at first, when I remember hearing these terms, it was like, do I ask them to apply? Like, what is this? Like, how do you do this, right? And realistically, it doesn't work that way, right? Like, your work ethic plays like your work ethic is going to appear in a room before you do in a lot of these settings as you start to build in your career. So it's really important that one-on-one engagement that you have, that you're able to connect and that you're able to also, match up to what you are trying to project and that you're putting yourself in positions where you not only have done the job and you are doing it well, that's when you want to start to open up the doors to also continue to mentor, right? Because sometimes people would jump in and go straight to mentorship and sometimes their work may not come along with them in that journey. And that's going to be really hard for the mentor to help you get to the next level, right? Your advocate and your sponsors are going to look a little different. They might be higher up and may not interact with you as frequently as your mentor does, but they're going to be talking about you in rooms where you're not there. You may not ever be privy to those conversations. So being able to have conversations with them is more aspirational and high level about directional. They can really be powerful for you when it's time to make moves and really be a sign off, and really when you're on the cusp of an opportunity, they're the ones who might be able to say, well, actually I can verify that this person has taken the time to get to know me, know the business. I've had several conversations with them. I feel totally comfortable with this person in the room, right? So being able to understand the roles that everyone plays, but don't overwhelm yourself. They will always change in every scenario that you go to, and every time that you move to a new role or you navigate a new space, you move to a new place, you're going to constantly be moving people in and out of your orbit, but continuing to stay in touch with them is also important because remember, you don't want it to be transactional. If this was someone who gave you valuable information, you respect the
Yeah.
way that they navigate and that they're seen, you want to stay in touch with them. You know, drop them a line, let them know you're thinking about them. It doesn't have to be holiday cards every year or anything like that. It's just you got to let them know that, hey, still think about what you told me last year and it manifested for me in this way. Just wanted to keep you in the loop. People love also hearing that they had an impact in your life as well.
And thank you for saying that, Kathy, because I'm seeing that so many trends from like previous conversations and sessions we've had with our students. Y'all, if you'll remember last week or 2 weeks ago when we met with Gabe Lamelli and we talked about LinkedIn, he talked about like every opportunity is an opportunity to network, whether you're making a new friend or a business connection, connecting on like LinkedIn and keeping that conversation going. So whether it's like, hey, like you mentioned that your kid's into skiing, like here's an article that I found, like, and just keeping that conversation going again, like not making it transactional, but finding ways to genuinely connect. And you never know where you might
Mm.
find that person. So I think that's an excellent point.
Oh, wrong glasses.
Yeah, I can add to that as well. I think 1000% agree with Kathy on coffee chats. So in my world, it's always kind of been coffee chats in a sense of you leverage that initially when you get into a new role to learn more about, cross-functional partners, more about the team and other leaders. So use that as an opportunity of, hey, even though I'm not in this particular department or on this team, I am very interested in knowing, right, their day to day, how do we interact with each other, if at all. So coffee chats are really a very powerful tool, not only when you're onboarding and getting to know folks in a new role, but also being able to get that cross learning into other teams or groups or expertise that may interest you. And you never know what can come of those conversations. So I think to Kathy's earlier point too of not being transactional, you really want to nurture the relationships. And that doesn't mean, pinging them or texting them every single day, right? You don't need to be besties. It's more so of make that authentic, genuine interaction and connection, and maybe kind of align on like, hey, like I'd like, if you're open to it, I'd like to talk to you, again sometime about what you've been working on, or like, check on, developments, right, on that project, right? So kind of listen and pick up on the things that maybe they're working on or hobby or aspiring to do, pick up on that and try and find a way to make a connection there. I think also you never know what can come out of a conversation. So not even just work related, right? You go to a holiday party, you go to a coffee shop to, work on a paper, do some work. You can meet people that way as well. And those connections that just seem like a one-off interaction later on can turn into like, oh, hey, you said this is interesting to you, or you're, working on this new project, actually have a friend that's looking for some help or support, right? So those people can connect you to other people just off of one conversation. So it's always kind of important to try to put yourself out there, right? Be engaging, ask questions, and really take those notes about that person so that that can turn into an ongoing conversation
Mhm.
and potentially an opportunity. Just you really never know. A lot of the roles that I've had hasn't been just directly applying. It's because I've had a relationship either with a friend of a friend, right, that knows someone, or even a previous manager. As an example, when I worked at Birdie's, that role came to me as an opportunity because my previous boss from the North Face knew the founder, right? So I had a great reputation at the time, and that turned into a new opportunity. And that really is, again, just nurturing your existing relationships.
Yeah. As we think about like relationships and like lived experiences, I like personally know like Monica and Kathy and like both of your stories, right? In terms of like your personal stories, but your lived experiences. And I think for a lot of our students, they are developing the art of storytelling and branding and what parts of them they want to share in mentorship relationships, in professional relationships. But as I think a lot of them are starting to think about how can they start to wrap their lived experiences into an advantage, and specifically as they are networking, as they are interviewing. So anything you can share in terms of your experiences or any advice that you have for students showing up as their authentic selves and storytelling, and how that can be an advantage in a professional setting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you always want to have some sort of a elevator pitch ready of who you are, right? Just to get an understanding of how to ground people in the conversation. But aside from that, I think what's really cool about where you guys are coming from and where when you're graduating and entering into your stage of early careers is you have a lot of opportunity to still discover more. You're going to be constantly learning for like the next couple of decades, to be honest, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And you're going to feel like you have it and you really understand what's going on, and you'll continue to hone in and sharpen the things that you start to like. But one thing that you might start to struggle with is trying to figure out, how your identity is compromised in any of those. And like, it's not that your identity is being compromised, it's your values that you're trying to hone in on, right? So I think being able to put a pulse on the things that you enjoy doing, but also understanding what your value systems are. And that might look like how you grew up, the type of respect that you showed people when you interacted with them, right? Or it might be the way it might manifest in the way that you communicate with others, right? You might be a listen first versus a speak first person, right? These types of things will start to help you build your armor of, and not to sound that, I don't want that to be like a violent way of saying anything. It's just more so you start to build your corporate persona when you're going in. And what, the terminology that I think Cheryl, Monica, and I have kind of like heard in recent years was really around like masking. And everyone does that. And I think this even goes with one of the questions that are in the chat as well. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. You will be put in tension points, but understand that through tension, you grow. And you also get to sharpen other parts, because it won't always be beautiful rainbows and butterflies on every step of the journey, but there will be moments of real discovery that also leads you to say, like, well, how do I make it feel more like those rainbows and butterfly moments moving forward? What do I want to carry on in that? So don't be afraid to like run into the difficult things. Obviously, don't go looking for difficult things. It's just understand that that's part of the process, and know that there will be a way out of it, and that the lesson in it is going to help build with like the resiliency that you develop as well. I think also where you are navigating as first gen, you bring a lot of perspective that people that you're going to be working with may not already carry, and they may be looking at you to help educate them. And you're probably going to find people that are going to be like, I don't even know how to ask you questions, but I know your skill sets are a little bit sharper than mine, because the
Mm.
software, the resources, the consumers that we're interacting, you're so much more closer to it. And oftentimes you're going to be, especially if you're dealing with consumer packaged goods or entertainment or lifestyle type of industries, oftentimes the ideas you have are going to make so much sense to you and the audience you're marketing to. But when you're an organization, you don't get to just then say, this is the best idea and I get it. You have to learn how to navigate bringing people along on the journey to understand. That's where the real work is, right? So your learned experiences makes you relatable to the room, and the room is who
Mm.
is trying to gain the trust from, right? So understand that like when the first couple of ideas don't make it, it's not because they were bad ideas. Sometimes it's giving you the opportunity to take a step back and learn how to influence the room and navigate the room so that you can deliver the best experience to your peers and the audience that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, coming into the room before you even make it into the room, remember that you're there for a reason, right?
Mhm.
You've already been chosen in a way. So that should relieve, right, a little bit of that the nerves and in the jitters overall, or that feeling of I don't belong, because you do. You've been selected, you've been chosen, you're there, right? I think also lean into what makes you the unicorn. When you think about leaders that are growing a team or pulling a team together, they don't want, right, copy paste the exact same person, right? Because you need balance. Everyone needs to contribute in their own unique way. So find what your kind of unicorn power is, whether that is you're the one that is like extremely, detail orientated, right? Or you're the one that's always going to catch like what's wrong with the scenario, right? You're the problem solver, maybe, right? Or perhaps you're the one that's like the analyst, right? Like you're crunching the numbers, you're finding the insights, you're bringing value in that way. So find what makes you uniquely you, and really what it is that they brought you on board for, and just lean into that. And over time, right, that confidence will build and come. And then staying curious is how you continue to build on your skill set as well, right? So that you can continue to grow.
Mhm. Thank you for that. Kamari, I'm wondering if that got to your question that you put in the chat. Okay, so thank you.
Yeah, this is, I was wondering the same thing, but it's been really great. I think organically, as you both have spoken, lots of questions have, been answered, but also made us think of so many more. So, folks, if you want to continue in the chat, or I'll leave like a little room right now if someone wanted to unmute themselves and ask a question. Perfect. Again, continue to use the chat, folks. Monica and Kathy, you both kind of hit on this, and I think it's powerful that, as we're in this stage of our careers and folks are starting to, go into their first jobs, or they're picking a major, thinking back to both of you at those stages, right? What's one piece of advice that you would give your college self, let's say? um, that I think a lot of the folks in this room would love to hear, and have appreciated, right, from our mentors.
Yeah, I think for me, it's because of my career path, again, has kind of been built on opportunity, not like a clear roadmap, so to
Yeah.
speak. I think for me, it's, when you feel like you're approaching a milestone or you need to make a decision about something, for example, like, I don't know, committing to a major or like committing to a path, the power really is just taking the first step and showing up. It's not necessarily the decision, right? Like the
Mm,
decision is helping you move forward and it's getting you on the track, but that decision is a setup for all the other opportunities that are to come, right? So don't spend so much time agonizing over what am I going to do, right? Just start moving forward. And that decision, whether it turns out to, put you on a path or redirect you, that decision is going to lead you somewhere, right? And it's not going to make or break you. It's intentional in the sense of it's forward movement. You're always going to continue to move forward. It's not going to have a horrible impact on your future, right? What I thought I was going to be doing when I was in college, nowhere near what I'm doing today. I couldn't have even have fathomed where I made it to and what I'm doing today versus where I started. Because again, it wasn't a linear path. So it's just more about keep putting one foot in front of the other, continuous movement, and don't worry about it being a detriment or the wrong move. Forward movement is always the right move.
Mhm.
Saw a lot of heads going like this. People needed to hear that.
I'd agree. That's 1,000% accurate. And I think even to Monica's point, like emphasizing the actions that you take of starting is really what you're responsible for. And then everything else after that is like the path that you're going to navigate. And there'll always be twists and turns for opportunities that you can look at. So I think being able to stay nimble and open to learning and learning or curiosity, as Monica also said as well, I think that's going to help you unlock other things as well. But if you're in that space of just figuring out where to start, I remember I had like a teacher in high school that had said, like, if you find something you love to do, you never have to go to work.
Mm,
And it really was just helping you hone in on like, don't think like Monica said, like whatever I choose to do today, I have to now lock in for 80 years. Like that's not going to be the case. You're going to be able to evolve it, structure it, do so many things. And guess what? You're going to be fine when you decide to move on to something else too. But the power of starting, it's a good place to start when you're looking at, well, what are the things I actually do like? And what am I studying? And how do I marry those things together? And then even like right now, we didn't have ChatGPT back then. We literally had like
Uh-oh.
notebooks that we had to look at and like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like
I can
career
hate
course, like
that.
what kind of careers come out of this, like, you know, degree? And now you can do so many savvy things like loading up your experiences into ChatGPT, talking about your resume, talking about the things that you're passionate about and the things you're like, I can't quite articulate what the job would be, but what kind of things can I explore with this type of experience that marries me to it, right? And it's going to open up things that we probably wouldn't have seen back then, right? So it's a good place to, I think, be curious and learn and start to see like, okay, opportunity wise, how can I go and find that and where can I put my position myself for it? What's the initiative that I need to take first?
Yeah, to add to that too, Kathy, we were actually just talking about this as far as identifying and figure out new opportunities. It's also about the how you approach it, right? Like if you have a looming decision or you're just like, I don't know what to do next, instead of like sitting in the panic and the angst of it, flip it on its head and it's like, wow, I get to find a new opportunity or wow, I get to explore what else is out there. So your how you approach it is also a way to help propel you forward too in that forward movement.
So
Mhm.
mindset matters. And
Yes.
yeah, I think that's
Ooh.
a good way to look at it and to think about it. Um, as we were about to ask you in terms of like your final messages as we're getting towards the end of our session, I feel like you guys just both dropped so many gems in like that last question. So maybe if you can talk a little bit to leave us with your thoughts in terms of first gen and fearless, like what we're calling this session today. Um, our students all identify as first generation college students from LA who have now dispersed across the country and have had or are having these opportunities to find themselves and put themselves in these spaces. So maybe if you could close out and talk to us a little bit about what first gen and fearless means to you.
Sure. I think first off, congratulations to you all. Like I think being first gen fearless, like that is it's a huge role to take on that you didn't really get a choice in, right? But this is where you do get to choose how you do this, right? And you get to own that and you are empowered to make these decisions and you have to learn how to put yourself first in it too. And so this is where first gen isn't just like taking away from the fact that you were by default the first generation. It is now also you are the first one who gets to pave the road of what it looks like. And you get to write and say, okay, you get to lead with all the experiences that you've already had. And you get to kind of showcase like what else I can do with it, right? So I think the most important thing to do is to be curious and don't feel time bound, don't feel financially pressured. You're early on in your career. Like, again, like nothing is permanent. And even if you love it so much, you can grow with it. But the goal is to find something that you want to have sustainable growth with and something that you can start to learn. And you aren't going to learn everything you need to be the billionaire tomorrow, isn't going to come to you in that first job. It does for some folks, but it's not going to be that for every single person, right? But your desire to want that is going to
Mhm.
fuel your fearlessness to get there, right? And your curiosity is going to unlock the players that are going to help you get to your ambitions and your goals. So remain open, remain like part of the other part of being first gen is you navigate ambiguity fluidly and fluently too, right? Like you know what it means to go into the unknown and you know what it feels like to have the pressures on your back of delivering success and delivering it at a high standard, right? So again, remember that as you walk into any room, you've probably faced more adversity than anyone else that's sitting around that table, and you are still conducting yourself as someone who can fit into that table, right? So I think when you're thinking through how to continue to grow, just make sure like you honor yourself and you listen to yourself too and trust your gut. Because one thing that being first gen and fearless has taught you is to listen to your gut. because there wasn't a guiding light that took you anywhere else. So your gut is going to have a lot more strength than some people who may not have the same opportunity. So that's something that I would share with you guys.
Yeah, and I think I would say for myself, it's really about, I think back to where I started and where I am today, and I really just didn't have the wherewithal, right? Like, as far as graduating high school, right, and going into college, what was that whole experience? That was never a conversation for me, right? Expectations were never really set of like, all right, this is what you should be doing in life, right, to be a contributing member to society. So for me, it's more of, really remembering that skill set that powered me to begin with, which is being resourceful, right? I always had to be strategic because I'm in survival mode to some extent. I'm also, very good at making connections, right? So those are the type of things that are directly transferable once you're entering into the professional world. So the things that make you you now, the things that are fueling you now, the things that are like inspiring and motivating you now are the things that you're going to keep with you. And that's what's going to continue to help you pivot and grow into your career. So don't lose those those innate kind of skill sets and attributes about yourself because that's only going to grow and make you stronger as you continue through.
Thank you both so much. Like I think and we knew this already from knowing that we were having this conversation on first gen and that we needed to bring some powerhouses to show students, right, like how relatable the struggle can be, but how you have to like really just put yourself out there and continue to do the work. As Kathy said, right, like the work will speak for itself. As Monica said, it's gonna feel scary, but we need to just power through, right? So we thank you both so much for being here
Thank
with us
you.
today, for being vulnerable, right? Um, Again, as we mentioned earlier, right, Monica and Kathy, confidence is cardio, right? Like the way we think about cardio and moving, those pieces. So, thank you to all of you for being here as well, right? Like, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling like this is my confidence workout for the day. And all of you are doing that as well. So, once again, a round of applause for our guests, Kathy and Monica. And real quick, before Kathy and Monica, we do have some announcements, folks, and we have our raffle. We're going to get through it really quickly, but I wanted to take a quick picture with our guests um, so that we're able to commemorate the moment, y'all. All
So if
right,
you're able to turn your camera on, please do so.
we'll give you a hot little minute. Oh, thanks,
Oh,
Craig, for the
I
pose.
said Craig is ready.
Forget about it. All right, three, two, first Gen and Fearless. All right. Thank you, folks. And thank you, Monica and Kathy, for being here with us today.
Thank you guys. You
Thank
can feel free to
you.
hang out with us
Yes.
if you want. We're going to do some announcements for the students for upcoming sessions. But sorry to cut you off also, Monica. I didn't know if you had any final words, either of you, but
No,
okay.
just want to say thank you so much. You guys are an incredible group, and I can't wait to see all your names somewhere in the future. This is going to be really exciting to see.
Yes, I'm so excited to have had this opportunity to connect with you guys. So, best wishes also, networking opportunity, reach out, say hi. But yeah, this has been a great experience. Thanks so much for having us.
And thank you for saying that, Monica. We always encourage our students to follow up. I see Rose. Good question, Rose. Can we connect with y'all on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Here, I'll drop my LinkedIn in here as well in the chat, and you guys can happy to connect.
Thanks for that. Oop.
Oh, sorry, y'all. Here we go. All right, awesome, folks. We have already put our survey right as so. Please make sure you bookmark that and keep that on the side for filling out later and giving us some really great feedback and the impact right of this session. Putting out there also our next session. Wow, y'all, this was our last session of the year.
Yeah,
Sad.
we're taking a little
Uh,
break for the holidays.
Right, we're going on holiday. But we get back to it January 10th with Network Like a Pro, from storytelling to career success. Again, these pieces that you've always heard folks talk about, right? Like, what is first gen? What's imposter feeling, right? What is networking? We're again putting it into practice with three really great guests, right? Who are, in the field and have gone through it, right? And have used networking to catapult either, where they are now or where they didn't want to be, right? But again, the power of networking and the power of being able to, again, have this space where we can talk about how do I do this, right? Without feeling or looking like a fool. So we'll send this out to all of you, but there's the link if you're able to, just go ahead and register for us. It always helps when we know who's going to be in the room.
And I just want to add to that for that next session on January 10th, we are also going to have those who are in the field. I want to just highlight Raphael Richard, who actually is in talent acquisition for Cisco. So you'll be able to hear from him specifically in terms of he's on campus and his team is on campus, like recruiting students,
Mm.
what they're looking for, some successful points, some pain points that they've seen from students. So that's going to be a great session. I encourage you to come in with questions because just all three of our panelists will be really great in terms of picking their brain in terms of networking and next steps. So that's coming up on January 10th. Y'all have been doing a great job of signing up for the resume one-on-one sessions. I know I was able to connect with a few of you in person this week in terms of, I thought I had a great resume, but being able to bring my resume into the session is just so much more in a better space. So if you haven't already signed up for a session, or if you have and want to come back for even more insight and fine tuning, please make sure that you register for our one-on-one resume sessions. We're taking a little bit of a break for this week, but we'll be back in the new year. And also keeping in mind that a lot of the opportunities that you all are thinking about applying for internships, for fellowships, early entry career, a lot of those roles are opening like right after the new year. So we want to make sure that your materials are in a good space. So just those will continue. If you haven't, maybe you've been procrastinating, waiting to get through finals, this is an excellent time to register for a
Yeah.
slot. So make sure that you scan the link and we'll send this out via email as well.
And as a student that we're chatting with at the holiday homecoming, working on your resume starts to have you ask questions, right? So even if you're, signing up for this session and, you're just talking about what's the move, right? Like, here's my experience, but is there any advice that I can get as far as like, where do I start, right? When it comes to applying or to looking for internships. These sessions are also a great way and so much more than just your materials. So thanks for saying that, Cheryl. Um, Y'all, if you missed the session or if you want to I was already thinking back. I'm like, I need to rewatch this because there were so many gems, and I'm starting a little notebook for myself as well, Kamari, right? But just again wanted to put out there our YouTube, where we also are sharing, more about career readiness and these workshops, but also tips, right? As we're going into interview season and applying season, we're gonna have lots on there for students to keep track of. So please make sure that you add us, and that way you could follow the journey and the support all throughout the year. Cool. All right, Cheryl,
All
you
right,
ready
so
for
we're
it?
excited to be able to offer our raffle. So as you're aware, and as Raquel had noted, we are going to be doing a raffle today for two $50 gift cards, which is really exciting. So these gift cards are in order to being able to help you um, get like gear, professional attire as we're getting ready to interview and feeling more comfortable in the room, having some of those materials that you all need. So we did put everyone's names in the raffle. Obviously, you have to be here in order to being able to win. So that's part of like the entire session. Also, keeping in mind as your futures requirement that you do need to do the exit survey in order to note that you were here for the session. So make sure that you did that as well. So we'll do the drawing for the first gift card, which, how do I hit go? There we go. Round of Let's see. Our first name is going to
I have to do it, y'all. Sorry.
Adriana. Congratulations.
Okay, Adriana.
All right, so we'll make sure to note Adriana, and you will get that via email. So congratulations. And our second student is Ooh, that was close, Lauren. Sorry. It's going to Janae. Is Janae still on the call?
Janae, you here with us?
Can you see the participant list?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay.
He was doing backflips. What do you mean?
All right. So congratulations to our winners. We'll make sure to get that $50 gift card out to you all. So again, the BCS exit survey is in the chat. We are, again, so grateful for all of you showing up every week, participating, being present. We're so excited to continue the work in the new year. So again, thank you for your time. If you want to reach out to us, you have our email addresses as always. Yvonne and I are always happy to connect. But enjoy the holidays, y'all. Take some time to rest, recharge, connect with family and friends, and we will see you in the new year.
Make sure you grab those links and your BCS exit surveys there as well. So we'll leave the room open so that everyone